Hi, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition, another adventure in comics on Words, Images, and Worlds. Delighted on this episode to be talking with creator Dre Daniels. Dre, welcome to the show.
Jason, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me, my friend. This is tremendous.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for saying yes. I think we had originally scheduled a time a little further out, but then you have things going on. You have
Yeah.
things going on right now, like today. And so
Yes, very much true.
it's a good time to talk. A good time to talk.
And I'm happy that you're able to fit me in. This is cool.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
very, very happy panda, so that works for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. It's a snowy day here where I live, and so it's a good day to be on a Zoom and be podcasting and talking about comics, reading comics. And so I'm curious, you are known for Brutal Planet comics.
You got it.
Um, and so I'm curious about that, curious about this book called Treble, and also just curious about how you found comics as kind of a starting question, maybe.
Okay. So to go back to my origins a bit, um, I was pretty much born into comics. Born into it, molded by it.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
This is what I've always been. And I've said a million times, said a million more. I was born with a Batman comic in my hand.
Love that.
So I grew up a huge fan of comics, comic shops, the comic business, a fan of comic-based cartoons and video games and movies and all that stuff. So like this has been not just like a hobby, as some people say. This has been a lifestyle for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
So it was only natural to progress into getting into the business itself. I started writing creatively in middle school. Middle school, I started writing creatively. Um,
Nice.
my father had worked for the Washington Post at the time. For those that remember the big Sunday papers,
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, I've submitted like the strips for the funnies. I don't know if those that remember that time period.
Yep,
It
yep.
was little small comic strips that you have in the Sunday paper. And that's where I pretty much started doing stuff, little scribbles here and there, and submitted stuff to the Washington Post and stuff. It was nice. But of course, when you're middle school, you're not quite refined as a writer quite yet.
Sure, sure.
So like I had a lot of good ideas, but did not have very good execution at the time. So as time went by, I began to hone my craft in storytelling and writing and things of that nature. I tried to dabble my fingers in traditional novels, and I wasn't having as much fun as I would like to be having. Um, and by that time, I'm like, okay, there were some really cool ideas that I had years ago. I'm going to revisit them. I'm going to revisit these cool ideas now that I've grown as a person, as a writer, and a whole bunch of other things. Let's get back to that. And so then we have the birth of Brutal Planet Comics.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to have a banner that represented who I was as a person, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
for many years, I've gone by the moniker of Dre the Brute. Back when I used to compete in physical activities, football, mixed martial arts, and stuff. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to carry that moniker on over and
Love it.
just
Yeah.
and go ahead and just expound it. And so Brutal Planet Comics was founded, and I was like, well, let's get back to that idea that I had when I was a kid. Let's get back to Treble. Let's get back to
Mm-hmm.
bringing this to the forefront. And so the idea that I had when I was in the eighth grade was actually it was a question I'd asked myself. And the question was, what would happen if music gave you superpowers?
Love it. Yeah,
That
yeah.
was the question that I asked myself then. But I was like, how is this going to work? How is this going to function? How is the world building going to function?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do research on not only musicology, but psychology, um, the um, the effect that music has on the brain, the emotional, psychological, and stereotypical aspects that is universally accepted by music to
Mm-hmm.
see how that would be pretty much as close as possible to a uniform of how these powers could work that everyone could relate to. Because music affects people differently in different ways, of course. But I had to pretty much narrow it down into what can be readily accepted by everybody that comes in contact with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where the idea came from, and the idea was born. And it's grown to where it is today. So
Love
that's
it.
pretty much it.
Yeah, I am a former middle grades teacher. I taught eighth grade for 8 years. So the fact that
Wow.
your journey begins there is just some really cool symmetry here because, and I also really connected with storytelling in eighth grade as well. So
Mm.
glad that it has grown and now grown into your own IP, if that's the right way to say that.
That's the right way.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah.
got it.
Cool, cool. So for folks out there that aren't familiar with Treble and Brutal Planet, I'm curious about the kinds of stories that you're drawn to, and the kind of stories that you're trying to share with the world.
So I grew up during the time period where the creative juices were flowing at its highest point, 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I was bathed in all that all the awesomeness that was Marvel, that was DC, and I missed how a lot of those character driven stories worked.
Mm-hmm.
The Some call it the circle theory or the hero's journey.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the type of stuff that I was always drawn to as a kid. And a lot of people from my generation are kind of missing a lot of that now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of folks from the newer generations didn't really experience that in its tot total apex. That's the word. Ooh, English is hard.
Yeah.
In its apex. And so I wanted to bring that back. I wanted to bring back the hero's journey. I wanted to bring back a hero you can root for. I wanted to bring back the classic stories of old and tributes to all those great writers that had come before me. I took a lot of inspiration from, Chuck Dixon is one of my favorite writers of all time, who has written more about comics and more about Batman and more about any other thing that and probably has forgotten more than I'll ever learn or know. Like I took great inspiration from him. Of course, he's a world famous, but then there's also lesser known writers that I took a lot of inspiration from, like Sean McKeever, who
Mm-hmm.
wrote a comic called Sentinel back in the early 2000s, which was like an
Mm-hmm.
offshoot from X-Men and everything. And I really enjoyed that run. And then there's so many other creators that have inspired me over the years, but the traditional idea of the hero's journey is what really drives my stories forward. And I think, in my personal opinion, I think it's the greatest form of storytelling as far as a narrative is concerned, and I wanted to put my own spin on it, my own spin on the
Yeah.
hero's journey, and it's I, I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and and just take the inspirations that I've had from writing from all these years to actually just put it into one funnel. Definitely push things in the right direction for me.
Cool, cool. Well, and comics being a collaborative process, I'm
Oh,
curious
yeah.
about some of the folks that have come alongside you that are part of the work and also that have just kind of supported the journey as you travel to this place that you're in.
Yeah. So my artist, Federico Corsini, he is a very great friend of mine. And our friendship has grown over the years. Working on Treble for as long as we have, good Lord. Um,
And it's a great visual. It really is.
yeah, yeah, and like we worked 8 issues throughout that. It was really, oh, snap, you're purple.
I know. I'm going to stop my video and start it back. That happens sometimes. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
that's
All right.
awesome. I was like, oh, I don't have that effect. Yeah, so like we worked on Trouble, 8 issues together from the beginning, and I am a very what's the proper term? Um I'm very OCD when it comes to my writing direction.
Hmm.
Like the way I write my scripts, a lot of my family is in theater and stuff like that. So I use a lot of stage directions, a lot of very direct terms on how things need to be placed in the paneling. So I'm very obsessed when it comes to that. There is no detail, left to the imagination, and that is definitely a trait that can drive some artists mad. It definitely is, but he had no problem with it. He was like, nope, I like your vision. It looks great. Let's roll with it. And it's like, cool. But we worked together for so long. There'll be certain scripts that I send to him. He's like, hey, Dre, why don't you, what about if we change it like this, like this will be here. And I'd be like, holy crap, that's brilliant. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Let's
Hmm.
put it, let's do it. Let's put it in there. So like we vibed off each other for so long, and like he's definitely tremendous. And also give a shout out to B Norad, who's my older brother, who helped me with the original concept arts. That because I got all thumbs here. So like so sketching is not my thing, but he definitely helped me out with a lot of the early sketches when I was first throwing this entire story together. And he definitely helped me out there. But the entire book was done by myself and Federico. And so it was really tremendous the way that we were able to work together and be able to, create something beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, very cool, very cool. And as I mentioned, it's a great visual. It's a great visual world, and you now are uh, you have a new entry on IndieGoGo because Treble's been going on for a while now. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's correct. So, there have been 8 issues of Treble
Hmm.
over the last 4 years. There's been 8 issues of Treble over the last 4 years that's been released as single floppies and digitals. The Indiegogo is for the first ever trade paperback, or for those that aren't familiar with
Nice.
that term, it will be a volume, if
Hmm.
that's a term that more people will be familiar with. Of all 8 issues, the entire arc slapped into one. So
Hmm.
it's 242 pages.
Nice, nice.
242 pages,
Very
all slapped
sizable.
into one graphic novel. And it took us a while to really get this graphic novel together because of like spine measurements and other things like that, and trying to change the gloss paper. Like there's a lot of things that went into it that um, was kind of tough, but
Hmm.
that's part of the journey. That's part of the journey to get it done and get it done right. And
Hmm.
so this Indiegogo is all about pretty much the prints for this arc. Everything on this entire story is done. Like so, like those that are like, there's been projects, Indiegogos, Kickstarters, and others. They're like, oh, you'll get the books in 6 months, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Nope,
Hmm.
you ain't gotta worry about that. This is just about the prints, no more, no less. This funding is strictly about printing it and getting it into your mittens.
Nice, nice.
So I've got some pretty great perks for this one here because there's all different types of readers and collectors.
Hmm.
So the first tier, which of course the cheapest tier is the digital, just emailing it right to you. It's got it, it's yours. The second tier, of course, is the print with a custom bookmark, which I'm very proud of that we created. It's really cool. The third tier is going to be, of course, the graphic novel, the bookmark, and a signature. If you got folks that like it signed,
Hmm.
some folks
Hmm.
like signed and everything. That's the signature version. The next tier is the tier that I was really excited about. So it's the digital tier, but it comes with a soundtrack for the book itself.
Oh, nice,
You
nice.
can't have an action adventure musical without the music. So
Right, right. Very
so there
cool.
is a soundtrack that accompanies this book. And so if you get that tier, you'll have that one. And the one under that is, of course, the physical and the music. And the granddaddy of them all, which is the Ultimate Trouble fan back. You get everything, the whole 9 yards, and you'll get to come on to my YouTube channel and share your thoughts on
Cool.
um on what you thought was good, what you thought could have been improved on, the whole 9 yards. So a little something for everybody that will want to get a taste. It's been a labor of love, and I've really enjoyed this journey and really enjoyed bringing this to everybody.
That's very cool. Very cool. Where can people go to connect? I know, of course, IndieGoGo, but to check out Brutal Planet and to sort of follow along with the journey.
Absolutely. So I'm sure you'll put it in the description section below of my link tree because there's
Absolutely.
so many things I have now because social media is everything. And we old heads, we're not used to that, but it is what it is. We have to adjust accordingly. So, but primarily to hit me up is Twitter. Twitter is the one I'm using primarily at DeBrute00. But guess what? The handle is the same on all of them. At
Hmm.
DeBrute00 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Oh yes, I have a TikTok. Yeah, I have that. Also I have the Brutal Planet Comics like page that's on Facebook, which is
Hmm.
BP Comics 1. So you can check that out as well. That's also in that the whole, oh my goodness, what's it, link tree? Social media. Oh my goodness.
All the things, all the
Yeah,
things.
so all of them are listed there, but I'm really easy to find. One handle pretty much covers them all. The Brute 00. You can hit me up. And of course, on my YouTube channel, of Brutal Planet Comics. Make life easy. Just put everything in the same name.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
my
right.
YouTube channel is Brutal Planet Comics, so definitely hit me up there and like, comment, subscribe, all those great things. And of course the IndieGoGo. Definitely, I would love everybody's support to check out the IndieGoGo. And if this is something that really moves you, if you can contribute, that'd be tremendous. But yeah, I think that's every place, Jason. I think that's every place. I'm
That's
pretty
cool.
sure. I
That's
think I
cool.
covered all my bases.
It's a lot of places. It's the great thing about right now is there's so many ways to connect, and I'll make sure that there are links to things when I post this on YouTube. I'll at your channel, so it all connects there that way as well. And yeah, glad to feature you. Glad to have you on the show. Did we miss anything that you want to make sure to share uh, about the
Let's see.
creative vision or anything like that before
I
we
think
wrap
we
up?
covered it all there, Jason.
You
So
got the elevator pitch down. You have got it
yeah,
down.
yeah, I've done. Oh my God, I've been doing this for years. Public service announcements. So, support your local comic shops.
That's right.
That's all. That's all. That's all I got. I think that's it. But I think we got everything. But I really thank you for having me, and I want to thank your audience, your everybody, for having me and checking me out. And if you can support my work, support my work. Follow me on all those social medias that I listed there. But you all have been fantastic to me, and I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dre, and glad to have you back anytime.
Thank you, Jason. This has been great.